Apocalypse Rising 2 is an open-world survival shooter PvP game. With over 70 different guns and hundreds of cosmetics to find, you can dump hundreds of hours mastering this game. I've been playing this game consistently for over a year, going from a complete noob to a somewhat decent player.
What?
So, in this video, I'm going to be going over the complete beginner's guide to Apocalypse Rising 2. And whether you're a complete beginner, a casual player, or a sweat, you will come away from this video better than when you started it. So hit that subscribe button and enjoy the video. Once you first hit play and load into the game, it will automatically place you into a server. This is where the strategy begins. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you will see the location and name of the server you are in. I highly recommend you play on servers that have low ping. They do a pretty good job putting you in the best servers by default, but make sure your ping is as low as possible. Now that you're in the game, let's make sure your settings are up to par. Immediately go to your settings and you're going to want to do the following. Number 1, turn your FOV all the way up. This is going to give you a much wider field of vision so you can see more. Number 2, turn off your automatic mantle and automatic ladders. You will thank me later when you're getting shot at and you're running away and you accidentally mantle a barrier, exposing your body to the enemy. Number 3, there are a few quality of life settings I like to use. If you press Q, it will change the shoulder your camera sits on. This can be beneficial if you're holding a left-hand peek and you need to see around. You can also change keybinds in this game, so feel free to play around with those. Number 4, the last setting is the most important setting in my opinion, and that's turning your volume all the way up in the game. This is important because you will be able to hear players' footsteps, gunfire, and vehicles much better, and it will give you the advantage. And yes, I mean turn your volume all the way up max. It's going to help a lot. Once your settings are all set up and you're ready to go, hit the play button and the game will put you in a random spawn location around the map. The game will spawn you in a relatively safe location, meaning there won't be any enemy players in the immediate area. This is good to know because you can determine where people are by where you spawn relative to points of interest. We can get into that in a later video. Everyone spawns in fresh with the same loot. One snub nose with some ammo, your own beans, an energy drink, and 2 bandages. If you hit start, you have the option to reset your character. So if you want a fresh start or want to try and get a different spawn, you can use this button. This button does have a cooldown of about 2 minutes, so keep that in mind. And when you do hit restart, you will lose your stuff. So if you're looking to log out of the game, just click leave and make sure that you are out of combat. And if you press M on the map and if you're in combat, there will be a little red circle indicating that you're in combat. Make sure you're out of that. That way you can log out safely. Now that you're in the game and ready to go, it's time to get geared up so you can survive. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that looting in this game is mostly RNG, meaning that if you find a weapon crate, there's a chance there won't be any loot. And the weapons that can spawn in them are also random, depending on the crate. If you see a crate that is open, that means someone has recently opened the crate, so be careful. There are multiple ways to get gear. In this section, we're going to be going over the 3 best ways to get loot. POIs, or points of interest, are named locations around the map. These POIs are filled with various loot and cosmetics and even special zombies that can drop their loot. For example, Ashland has a police station with an underground armory, a gun shop with special infected in it, and even a backpack store to get more space for your inventory. It's always a safe bet to go to a point of interest to get geared up. Events are a bit different from static points of interest. All the events have a chance to spawn in their respective locations, but it's not guaranteed, and neither is the loot. For example, the helicopter crashes have a chance to spawn at these locations. These crashes will sometimes have zombies and loot, sometimes one or the other, or sometimes nothing. That's when you can get mad at the developers. Events are a really good way to get geared relatively quickly, as they have better loot than the typical point of interest. So make sure you become familiar with where the events can spawn for better chances of survival. The third way to get geared, and my personal favorite, is by eliminating other players. This can be easier said than done. I like to roam around and find people who are doing the looting for me and take them out. This is a double-edged sword because you may not be able to take them out if their loot is better than yours, but be on the lookout for players around you. Who knows, they could be very stacked. Now that you are geared up, it's time to survive and fight. In this section, we'll be going over combat tips that will help you live longer and get more kills. The first combat tip I want to give you is use third-person mode. You should be roaming around and taking advantage of the field of vision third-person mode gives you compared to first-person mode. This can help you peek corners and collect information during fights. Recoil control is also a very important combat tip. Getting attachments for your guns can make the difference between life and death. Make sure that when you are shooting, your recoil is under control so your bullets hit more effectively. Be patient. Being patient is the key to winning fights and staying alive. There is never a good reason to lose patience and get yourself killed while doing so. If you're fighting a guy on a rooftop, be patient and let them make the move. It will work out better for you in the end. Don't loot unless you know it's safe. I know it's so hard not to look at the dead body and see just how much gear is on it, but if you don't know your surroundings, chances are you will get pop-shotted by a guy with an A2 and he will get the spoils of the battle you just won. This game is about surviving and fighting other players. Sometimes surviving takes priority. If you see a team of 5 and you're a solo player, no matter how good you are, your chances are close to 0 to come out on top. So it's okay to run away. Sometimes. Choose your battles wisely and you'll save so much time in the long run. Another tip I learned is to take advantage of your supplies and equipment. Health boosters, scurvies, and trauma kits all give you bonus HP. This is a phenomenal way to get advantage in a battle. So make sure you are using your equipment wisely. Inventory setup is crucial to surviving in Apocalypse Rising 2. As some of you may know, this is something I personally suffer with. There are so many ways to set up your inventory. The first thing everyone needs is a full-size bag with 56 slots. I consulted with pros in the game like Queued User, and this is what he had to say. He said an ideal inventory setup is 4 military medkits, 2 small medkits, and 4 field dressings for your supplies. For the utilities, it's usually a mix between a trauma kit, gun cleaning kit, rifle, or the LMG loader depending on the gun, athletic gear, multivitamins, and padded soles. As for the weapon you're running, try not to run too many magazines because of how much space they take up. Instead, try to carry like a battle pack or a Soviet can or something that holds a lot of ammo. And for your secondary, usually carry around 2 mags and maybe a box of 45 CP or 9mm depending on what you're running. And he also recommends saving a space for 1 ration and a water bottle. Now this is obviously like the end game setup and it varies depending on the player, so try to figure out what works best for you. The goal is to just be as efficient as possible. You don't want to have 7 military medkits because then you won't have room for ammo, food, and other type of stuff. So make sure that everything is kind of balanced out and efficient so you can be a better fighter. By now, you should be on your way to being an expert in Apocalypse Rising 2 and taking out full-on Zergs by yourself, hypothetically. This game takes time and practice. Here are a few more tips I picked up along the way that made me better at the game. Number 1, practice. Hop on a private server with your buddies and just practice getting better. Join some of the discords that run on tournaments. This is a great way to get the hours in the game and just become better overall. And play with your friends. A great way to survive longer and have more fun is playing with a group of 2 to 3 people. This greatly increases your chances of survival, and it's also the perfect amount of people to where you can still get kills. Running in a group of 5 people is fun. You probably won't die a lot, but again, you probably won't get a lot of kills either. So 2 to 3 people I found is like the sweet spot. And don't get frustrated. Dying in this game is extremely punishing. You lose everything. The more comfortable you can get with dying, the more fun you will have, and you'll notice yourself getting better. Guys, just be okay with dying. You will die a lot. You're not going to live forever in this game, so definitely just practice. And like a really big thing for me is like when you die, try to figure out what you could have done better in that scenario and try applying that into the next battle that you have. Like, did you overpeak too much? Did you run out of health? You know, like those are things that you can take into account that'll definitely help you become better. And thank you guys so much for watching the complete beginner's guide to Apocalypse Rising 2 in 2024. If you found any of these tips useful, make sure to subscribe and let me know down in the comments below any tips that I missed. Peace.